One of my best friends when I was in the 6th grade broke his leg, and he had this full cast on. And then he had those cool, back then they were new, those aluminum crutches that they use, with the hand thing through it. I thought, that's cool. And of course, all the girls were signing it. And I went out and started throwing myself on the playground, trying to break my leg. I couldn't do it.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's weird you think back. Go, God, what was I thinking?
On the wall of Capital City Gymnastics are the portraits of 5 martial arts masters. Shushiwa was a Chinese medicine hawker in the Fujian province of China. He was the originator of the Chinese style of kung fu called Peng Gai Nun, which means half hard, half soft. This refers to the hard strikes and soft blocks utilized in the art. Very little is known of his life because he was probably involved in the overthrow of the Qing dynasty. Kambun Uechi is the most famous student of Shushiwa. He studied Peng Gai Nun from 1897 to 1904. Kambun Uechi grew up in Okinawa but relocated to China to avoid conscription and achieve his dream of studying martial arts with Chinese masters. He later returned to Japan and taught Peng Gai Nun until 1948 when he died. In 1940, Peng Gai Nun was renamed Uechi Ryu in his honor. Kane Uechi was the son of Kambun Uechi. Kane began training in Peng Gai Nun at the age of 16 because his father refused to speak of his martial arts training until then. He helped develop and broaden the style of Uechi Ryu. He added 5 new kata and 2 kumite exercises to help move Uechi Ryu into the modern age. Kame Uechi was the son of Kanai and took over the Uechi Ryu Karate-Do Association. This caused a rift in the Uechi Ryu organization because of internal disagreements. In 1997, Kanmei Uechi presented George Mattson with his 9th degree black belt, which is the highest level of belt one can typically receive before death. George Mattson began learning Uechi Ryu in Okinawa while stationed there with the U.S. military in 1956. He was the first American to be taught Uechi Ryu, and he had promised Kane Uechi that he would bring the martial art to America. Now, in 2013, Dave Lamb teaches the 100-year-old Okinawan martial art Uechi Ryu here at Capital City Gymnastics in Lincoln, Nebraska. When Dave wanted his dojo to be linked to other Uechi Ryu dojos, he contacted George Mattson himself. He and his fellow instructor at the time wanted to know how to address the well-decorated and respected teacher. George Mattson replied, "Call me George." As a kid, Dave played just about every sport available. He even played soccer, which at the time was just beginning to become popular in the U.S. He has been studying martial arts since his early 20s.
I started judo when I was 16, then studied some taekwondo in college, and then officially really got rolling after I got out. So I was 20, I got married when I was 24, so I started with my wife when I was 24. So I was 31, I'm 64 now, so I've been doing this style for 33 years.
Dave might be 64, but he moves like he is much younger. You can tell that he stays in shape and in practice. In addition to teaching Uechi Ryu, he also has been teaching gymnastics for 25 years despite never having done it himself. Each of his daughters was in gymnastics at one point or another, and one of them currently performs in Cirque du Soleil.
Dwayne just said, well, geez, you're here, you know sports, you're a teacher, I'll teach you the rest. So I've been coaching gymnastics for 25 years. I was never a gymnast.
He also teaches a course at Southeast Community College. Dave is a charismatic, relaxed, and knowledgeable instructor. He likes to tell stories to relate key ideas to his students, like many teachers.
Anyway, he's world famous. People come from all over the world to study this with him. I remember one time I was sitting on the edge of the mat, and he's, jovial, la, 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 la. He walks out in the center of the floor, and I'm going to take his picture, and he assumes this posture like this. Okay, gets real serious. And the hair on the back of my neck just stood up, because he changed from jovial to this ferocious, really intense man. And I just, I remember the hair on the back of my neck just went, whoa. And if you can do that, by selling your face, man, think what that would do for your opponent. It would intimidate you. You'd be like, I don't want to mess with this dude.
One of the most important aspects of any martial art is the kata, which is a series of movements and techniques meant to build muscle memory and teach students specific ideas about the art of self-defense. Here, a student named Koti Surrounded practices one of the Uechi Ryu katas. Koti is relaxed and friendly, but when it comes to Uechi Ryu, he is strong and focused. He even has a tattoo on his chest of the symbol for the Okinawan Peninsula and the three animals of Uechi Ryu: the dragon, the tiger, and the crane. The young Elijah is another one of Dave's students. He is very focused for his age and clearly concentrates on perfecting his technique. He demonstrates a kata from another martial art that he has studied. It seems to be more aggressive than many of the Uechi Ryu katas. In order to give his students the best preparation for self-defense, he teaches some things outside of the typical Uechi Ryu curriculum.
When I first started in 1980, it was Pungai Noon, which we talked about, it's half hard soft. And then it switched to Uechi. And the difference is that the Pungai Noon people thought you should do karate and weapons together. Uechi people said, no, not so much, let's just do karate. I like weapons too. I think they really enhance what you're doing, because there's 4 levels of violence. There's words and gestures, grabbing, punching and kicking, and weapons. People have a baseball bat or a screwdriver or whatever. So you need to learn how to be able to defend against weapons by studying weapons. And that principle you can apply and use against somebody's weapon.
Instruction typically lasts from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m., but Dave often stays later to teach weapons to those who want to learn. Lately, he has been teaching the bow to Koti and other students.
There's 13 weapons in our organization. Usually we just focus on these 4: bow, nunchaku, tonfa, sai. Those are probably, eku occasionally, for those people who know that.
Dave has clearly mastered the use of the bow, and Koti is well on his way. They both perform a kata with the weapon. hard, half soft is the definition of Pungai Noon, but Uechi Ryu teaches a principle philosophy that one would not expect from a powerful martial art like this.
That, what we said at the end of class, that's why I wanted you to hear that. Manners and peace. When our Okinawan teachers come over, I'll never forget this. There were several in the dojo, and they, in Japanese, they were talking, and the translator said, Kinjo Sensei said, when he comes back to Lincoln, this will be a more peaceful place from karate. And he said, the interpreter said, he really believes that when people practice the martial arts the way they're supposed to be practiced, you become a more peaceful person in a more peaceful place. So manners, be humble, respectful, and courteous above all, number one. Second one is manners, or peace, observe the ways of peace and teamwork. Get along, cooperate, play in the same sandbox.
Looking at it from the outside, I think that Dave and his students all exhibit the characteristic of half hard, half soft. They are friendly, casual, and well-mannered, but when they train, they become fierce, powerful, and hard. Uechi Ryu, like many martial arts, has led them to a way of life some of us never experience.
Kyosuke, Dojo-kun, manners.
Be humble, respectful, and courteous above all.
Peace.
Observe the ways of peace and teamwork.
Drive.
Practice with all the drive you have and strive for more than you think you have.
Courage.
Have true courage in all facets of life.
Self-improvement.
Strive for individual achievement for the benefit of others.
Right? Thanks for coming.